The congressional hearing room was packed. Bright lights overhead, cameras flashing, the air heavy with tension. California Governor Gavin Newsom leaned back in his chair, wearing the easy confidence of a man used to being in the spotlight. Across from him sat Pam Bondi, former Attorney General of Florida, calm and collected, her hands folded neatly on the desk. The topic on the table was homelessness in America, an issue both deeply political and painfully human. As she began to speak, Gavin chuckled under his breath. The sound wasn't cruel exactly, more like the kind of laugh people give when they think they've already won. The cameras caught it. A ripple of whispers ran through the audience. Pam paused, tilted her head, and smiled, not the sharp smile of political sparring, but the kind of smile that says, "I've been here before, and I know something you don't." "You think I'm here to debate numbers, Governor?" She began softly. "I'm not. I'm here to tell you about someone you've met, but you probably don't remember." Gavin's smirk faltered slightly. Pam reached into a folder and pulled out a photograph, a wrinkled, smiling man with kind eyes. She slid it across the table toward him. "This is Henry Carter, Vietnam veteran, lived in San Francisco for 14 years, on the streets. You shook his hand 2 years ago during a campaign stop outside a diner. You told him you'd see what you could do." The room went still. Gavin glanced down at the photo. A flicker of recognition crossed his face. Pam's voice didn't rise in anger. Instead, it softened even more. "Henry never asked for money. He just wanted socks, Governor. Dry socks. The winter rains had ruined his feet. 2 months later, I found him in a shelter I volunteer at. He had pneumonia. He told me he believed you'd come back for him." Gavin's hands, which had been resting casually, now gripped the desk. "I didn't come here to shame you," Pam said, her eyes steady. "I came to tell you what happened next." She took a deep breath. Henry recovered, and when he did, he began volunteering at that shelter himself. Every Friday night, he would pass out socks to anyone who needed them. He'd tell them, "One pair can save your feet. Your feet can save your life." Last month, he passed away, peacefully, in a warm bed, because people in this city finally noticed him. The governor's eyes were wet now, but Pam wasn't done. "And before he died, Henry told me something I want you to hear," he said. "Tell the governor thank you for shaking my hand. It made me feel human again, even if he never came back." The silence was deafening. The cameras caught everything. Gavin Newsom frozen, the laughter from earlier now a distant shadow. Pam leaned in, her voice steady but filled with compassion. "Governor, sometimes it's not about policies, press conferences, or promises. Sometimes it's just about showing up, again and again, until people like Henry don't have to wonder if they matter." Gavin swallowed hard, then nodded slowly. "You're right," he said quietly, voice breaking just slightly. "I can do better." Pam smiled gently. "We all can." As she gathered her papers, a quiet applause began in the back of the room, growing louder until it filled the chamber. For a brief moment, the politics melted away. It wasn't Republican or Democrat. It was just human beings remembering what mattered most. Message: no matter how powerful or busy we are, our true measure is in the small acts of humanity we choose to give. A handshake, a pair of socks, a promise kept. Those moments might not make headlines, but they change lives, and sometimes, they save them. If you'd like, I can also tighten the pacing and add cinematic beats so it feels like a gripping short film script while still fitting the 10 to 12 minute narration range. That would make it even more engaging for an international audience. Here's the continuation, picking up right where we left off, keeping it cinematic, emotional, and ending with that uplifting punch. The applause faded slowly, but the echo of it lingered in the room. Gavin Newsom sat still, the photo of Henry Carter resting in front of him. He didn't look at the cameras now, he looked at the picture, almost as if the man in it might speak again. Pam Bondi didn't rush to leave. She stood there, hands resting on the table, letting the silence breathe. In that stillness, the governor cleared his throat. "Pam, where is the shelter?" he asked quietly. A few heads turned. Even some reporters lowered their cameras. "This wasn't in the script. It's on Mission Street," Pam said. "The kind of place most politicians drive past with the windows rolled up." Gavin let out a long breath. "I want to see it." There was a beat of disbelief. People weren't sure if it was for optics or for real, but Pam saw something in his face, a vulnerability that wasn't there 15 minutes ago. Later that evening, a black SUV pulled up in front of a modest brick building. The glow of a flickering neon cross spilled onto the wet pavement. The governor stepped out, not flanked by aides or camera crews this time. Just him, and Pam beside him. Inside, the smell of soup and coffee mingled with the low hum of conversation. Men and women, young, old, veterans, single mothers, sat at long tables, eating. Pam led him to a corner where a small wooden box sat on a shelf. Above it was a handwritten sign, Henry's Sock Fund. Gavin stared at it, almost smiling. This is, all from him. Pam nodded. Every pair we give out now comes from donations Henry inspired. He believed something small could still make someone feel seen. The governor slipped off his coat, rolled up his sleeves, and for the next hour, he didn't talk policy. He ladled soup. He carried trays. He handed out socks, one pair at a time, saying softly, Henry would have liked these. Some people didn't even recognize him. And maybe that was better. A single photo appeared on social media, not from an official account, but from a shelter volunteer. It showed Gavin, head down, handing socks to a man in a wheelchair. No captions about politics, just, sometimes showing up is the policy. The image went viral, not because it was the governor, but because it was real. And over the weeks that followed, other officials began visiting shelters in their districts, not for photo ops, but to listen. To show up. Pam kept volunteering. Gavin kept coming back, quietly, no press in tow. And somewhere, Henry Carter's legacy, one handshake, one pair of socks, was still changing lives. Final note to the reader. We may never lead a state or write a law, but we can all be the person who notices. We can be the one who shows up. And maybe one day, when someone else tells our story, it will be said that we left the world just a little warmer than we found it.